Welcome to the Iowa Shrine Bowl pre-show. I'm Rob Brooks, along with Jerry Koala. And Jerry, back in late May, the Iowa Shrine Bowl made a really difficult decision to cancel this year's game at the Unidome due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But certainly the mission goes forward to raise funds for the Children's Shriners Hospitals. And the key thing is that we continue to get the message out, make sure that the education of what the Shriners Hospitals for Children is all about. And that's really why we're here today, to make sure that that message goes forward.
Hey, no question, Rob. Good to see you again. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to spend the time at the Unidome broadcasting this game live. It has meant so much to so many people over 47 years. This would have been the 48th version of the Iowa Shrine Bowl, but you're absolutely right about life goes on in the Shrine Hospitals and what they do for children and what this game really means for those hospitals and the money that they raised. And so that is continuing to go on even as we speak here today about the Shrine game being canceled for this year. But the costs are every day in the world of a young child who needs the Shriners Hospitals.
Certainly, Jerry Hoffman, the general manager of the Shrine Bowl, knows that exposure and education really has to go forward. And the nice thing is that a lot of the players, the cheerleaders, of course, the head coaches get involved and still out raising funds and creating awareness around this game each and every summer. The Iowa game is certainly one of the best in the nation, and last year the game raised more funds than any game in the nation, and that just really says something about what the Shrine does in the state of Iowa, and also the coaches and the players, the Iowa Football Coaches Association, and what it means to this state.
Yeah, $2.2 million per day to operate the Shriners Hospitals, not only across North America, but in the Northern Hemisphere. It's just astounding. And, you know, Jerry Hoffman, he'll come out here shortly when we get a chance to speak with him, talks about the elevation of the tradition of the game of this Iowa Shrine Bowl, how important it is for these players, number one, to be selected, be nominated, then be selected to play. And then we really find out when they come into camp 8 days into the game is the activities that go along with it. And I think they're attending the Shrine Hospital really is an experience. And I think it lends itself to having them perform better because they know that their performance isn't for themselves, but it's for fundraising, it's raising money to help those children at these Shriners Hospitals. So there is a lot of education that comes out of being a part of this Shrine Bowl for everybody, and especially the players and cheerleaders who are along the sideline during the game too.
Jerry Hoffman, the general manager of the Shrine Bowl, joins us. He does such a terrific job year in and year out. And Jerry, tough decision, obviously, in May to cancel this year's game, but certainly the exposure and the education about what this game is all about goes forward.
It certainly does, Rob, but it's unbelievable. You know, we get 92 football players. We get approximately 60 cheerleaders. We get 16 coaches that come to our camp, and they know very little about our Shrine and what we actually do. Sure, they know that Shriners have a great time at the parades, you know, with our little red caps and our little cars running around, but they really don't understand our actual mission, and that is to educate people on what Shrinedom is all about, how they can help us with these children in their different communities. If they spot a family that is struggling with some kind of a problem with a young child, they need to immediately try to get a hold of a Shriner in that community or call this 800 number that we have to get help and get those children evaluated to see if our Shrine hospitals can help them out.
And certainly the program went forward, and you got help from players and cheerleaders to get out there and fundraise and still do that aspect of what you're expected to do before the game.
We certainly have. It's unbelievable. You know, under these young men and ladies tried to go out in March when the businesses in their communities were completely shut down. They faced hardships, even getting a hold of someone. And I cautioned them. I didn't want them out there and them getting exposed, trying to sell some of our ads. So it was terrible for them to do what they normally do, is get into their communities, tell the community leaders that, hey, I'm here supporting our community, our game, and we want to help Shriners and help the children of the Shrine.
So Jerry, you know, one of the things that you talked about the other day when we were discussing this program was talking about the level of the tradition of the game that has been elevated over the years, and I really couldn't agree more as to how much higher the standard of the tradition of this game has improved.
You know, we're going on our 48th year. I can't give the Iowa Coaches Association and the Cheerleading Coaches Association enough credit that in November, we send out letters to each and every one of them, asking them to recommend a potential participant into our game. And they know the criteria that we're looking for and who we want to be there to represent their community and them. You know, number one, their high academic standards in their school. Number two, community service. What are they doing in their community to serve their cause? Number three is their, of course, their athletic ability, you know, to do that. So these criteria, these coaches know that, and they'll tell me, Jerry, this year I don't have anyone that I'm going to recommend to your game. And so their standards are very high also when those final 92 players, those final 50 or 60 cheerleaders are chosen for our game. So we got the cream of the crop when they attend our game.
Yeah, no question about it. And one thing that I've really been impressed with the last few years that I've been able to do the sideline work for Mediacom was the banquet on the night before the game. The inspiration of the speakers, I think you can just feel the vibration of the anticipation of the game through these players in that banquet. And I think that just kind of culminates into the parade the next day, and of course the game that follows the parade that afternoon at the
Yes, you know, you can't believe the comments we get after the game. It might be 3 weeks, you know, it might be 10 years, you know, since they've been in our game, how that has affected them. You know, they'll write me a note, Jerry, that was a life-changing experience for me to be part of this. So it's so much bigger than just a football game. And they learn that during those 8 days that they're in camp, when they're around Shriners, when they're doing all of our activities that we ask them to do during that week. And of course, the big, you know, banquet on that Friday night that you were alluding to culminates our week being in camp. And it's just fantastic how they proceed and how they learn from being with us.
That's unfortunate, Jerry, that we can't have this year, but you know, I know Rob and I and who we have broadcasting with us at Mediacom just certainly enjoys the full day that we get to spend with the Shrine organization and then be at that game and do the best possible broadcast that we can to promote the cause of this Iowa Shrine Bowl.
We can't thank Mediacom enough for being our partner in this. It's a joy to work with you gentlemen. And it's not just the day of the game, you know, we started early in the year working with you folks about our game, when it's going to be, and all the things that go into making up a successful day of the game.
course, we have other distinguished guests to talk to. Dean Jacobson, President of the Board of Directors of the Iowa Shrine Bowl, also a board member of the Shriners. And Dean, certainly just as we've alluded to, a tough decision not to be on the field this year, but I know this game has meant so much to you, and we'll go forward and make even 2021 even better.
Thank you, Rob. And yes, the game has meant a lot to me, and serving on the board has meant a lot. The quality of the gentlemen that are on the board, there's 12 board members from the four shrine temples in Iowa, and their level of commitment to the Shriners Hospital and the children and the players and cheerleaders and coaches of the game is pretty incredible. And we work together to help the kids understand that there is a purpose in the world that's bigger than ourselves. And if we can focus on that and help others out, it really adds value to the world and to our own growth.
Michael, how about your involvement with the bowl game?
I'm on the board of directors, also serving with Dean. It's a tremendous honor to work with some fantastic people in the community, and getting to know some of these players personally has just been a tremendous highlight for me.
And how about some of the work too that the board of directors go through? Because anytime you make that commitment, there's a lot of pre-work to do leading up to the actual game.
Absolutely. No, we're blessed to have a great general manager in Jerry Hoffman, as you've met today. But having an opportunity to be out in the community, meeting with some of the finest young men and women in the state of Iowa, it's a great honor. And going back to what Jerry shared earlier, I think it was Tuesday of this week, I had a great conversation with a gentleman that played in the 1980 Iowa Shrine Bowl. He called me up and talked about the impact it's had on his life. I mean, he's had many successes in business as a franchisee in the state of Iowa. But he said, having a chance to reflect over the last couple months, he said one of the benefits of COVID was he reached out to people that he played with, and they had a group of about 30 guys that were planning to come to our game this year from the 1980 Iowa Shrine Bowl. We've invited them back for next year, but just to see the impact that we're able to have and explain our mission and talk about the benefits that we can provide, young children in our communities that don't have the benefits maybe that the rest of us do. So it's a great honor to be part of this board.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's really true, and it's not a throwaway line. You really do create memories and friendships of a lifetime. I've talked to several former players, my son included, where they still have a group text amongst many of their teammates, and they still talk back and forth all the time. So that is a real true statement. And Jeff, how about your involvement and appreciation of what the Shrine does?
Well, first off, I am the Imperial Potentate for Shriners International and chairman of the board of directors for Shriners Hospitals for Children. And these are the kind of events that give us more public exposure and publicity than anything else. And I just want to compliment Jerry Hoffman and everybody at the Iowa Shrine Bowl for the outstanding work that they do each and every year with this game. As you mentioned earlier, this just isn't a day-long event. It's something that's a year-long event. And when you bring these outstanding student athletes, whether it's a cheerleader, whether it's a football player, or whoever that is, and the coaches all together, and I liken it to the fact that even though these are just high school kids, when we bring our patient ambassadors from our hospitals to meet these football players, the football players are their heroes because of who they are. And lots of times the football players are just a little bit hesitant to go interact with these patients because sometimes they have some kind of a physical disability. But after about 10 minutes, the real heroes become the patient ambassadors, and the players truly understand that. And nobody exhibits this and does a better job at what they do than the Iowa Shrine Bowl.
Well said. Certainly appreciate you gentlemen coming on, and we'll continue to give exposure and education to the Iowa Shrine Bowl. And we'll be back with the two head coaches of next year's game. They're going to be the coaches of this year's game as well when we come back.
There are a million reasons why people choose to support Shriners Hospitals for Children.
It might be because Shriners Hospitals is recognized around the world as the leader in their innovative research. They're super smart.
Or it could be the fact that Shriners Hospital specializes in giving transformative care so kids can get home quicker. and get back to the important stuff, being a kid.
Or maybe it's the way Shriners Hospitals is helping more kids in more places through the use of telehealth technology. This gives kids around the world life-changing quality care right where they are.
Like I said, there are a million reasons to support Shriners Hospitals every month. But I bet I know the best ones.
Me, 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 and me.
With your monthly gift, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you, and a reminder of all the children who make up your million reasons why you support Shriners Hospitals for Children. Because of your monthly support,
I can dance. I can play games with my friends.
I can walk.
there are a million reasons to give, and I
am one of them.
Thank you.
Please, call or go online right now. If operators are busy, please call again or go to loveshriners.org right away to give.
Welcome back to the Iowa Shrine Bowl pre-show. Rob Brooks along with Jerry Koala, joined by the two head coaches. It's supposed to be this year, but they've been invited back for next year. So it's great to have the South Team head coach, Rob Luther from Baxter High School, and Paul James, who will coach the North Squad out of Linmar High School. And Paul, obviously been around the game a long, long time, and it's kind of a special association with the Shrine Bowl and your career, and also the Iowa Football Coaches Association, which really makes this game so popular across the state of Iowa.
Yes, I was able to be involved in the Shrine game after my first year coaching with Wally Sheets at Cedar Rapids, Washington. He was named the Shrine coach in 1977, a long time ago. And it was the early days of Shrine, I think maybe the fifth game, something like that. And so we were down in Pella for 2 solid weeks and got to visit the Minneapolis hospital. And, you know, it was really special. And, you know, early in my career, you know, it was kind of a goal to be the head coach of a Shrine team someday. And I was kind of an unofficial assistant that year. And so in '99, I was the assistant with Dave Arns from Waverly Shell Rock. And then my turn came around to be head coach for 2020 and now 2021. But it's just seeing the kids, the effect of the hospital on those kids, and the interaction with players with the children in the hospital is really a special deal.
Rob, how about you and your history with this great game?
Yeah, so I think even growing up playing football in the state of Iowa, you're aware of the Shrine game and how special that is. But I had the opportunity, was blessed in 2003 to be an assistant under Ed Morrissey from Pleasant Valley. Had a couple former Iowa State players, Jimmy Knott and Matt Straight, with me, and we were at Iowa State for the week. So they definitely hosted us well over at Iowa State. And just the relationships you build from coach to coach to player, player to player that week, it's just hard to explain just how some of the friendships. I have friendships that I still maintain to today. I was blessed enough to coach Brett Meyer and Todd Blythe. I had the quarterbacks and wide receivers. So, you know, kids that have great careers after that, move on. Chad Reinhardt was a Boone kid that played in the NFL that was on that team. So, and like Paul said, it's such an honor to be named a head coach in this game, and just humbling experience, and excited. Feel bad for the kids this year, and it's just, we're living in a time that we couldn't have guessed, but excited they asked us to stay on another year.
Questions, guys. Paul, start with you. How was in this game, and as a Shrine Bowl assistant back in 1977, 1999, how has that impacted you as a football coach and your influence on the players that you have from year to year?
Well, like Rob said, you know, it's the relationships with the players that you have in the Shrine, you know, that go on to have great careers. And whatever, and just meeting those players and their work ethic. And that's something that you can take on with your team back home, is talking about the kind of young men that are a part of the Shrine, you know, their work ethic, their personal qualities, they're fine people, and trying to convey that to your players of, you know, the ideal athletes and what you want to become as you grow to be adults and so on. I think those are some of the big things that you can take to your team when you go back home.
Rob Luther, from your perspective.
Yeah, I think as a young guy growing up, it was a lot of learning and learning from those players, learning from those coaches, just trying to soak it all in. You know, now it's maybe 17 years later, maybe it's more of a teaching perspective, the things that, you know, I've maybe learned along the way, or, you know, things that I've seen in certain kids and qualities, like Paul said, that we can hope to instill in those kids. But I just believe that the game is beyond football. I mean, it's really about the Shriners and our kids getting associated with the Shrine, and putting high school football with the Shrine with kids who are less fortunate. And it just all works together really well.
And Paul, one thing too about on field is you've both been around great players throughout your careers, but the chance to coach some of the best players in the state, unfortunately you won't be able to this year, but that's always a terrific challenge too. And Rob Luther, you talked about some of those great players. I remember those games even to today. And that's part of it too, because you're taking the best to the best that the state of Iowa has to offer.
Exactly. And I've had that opportunity coaching girls basketball, to whether it's AAU or whatever, to take some of the great players and mold them into a team, you know, and that's always challenging, is taking stars out from individual teams to mold them into, you know, working group, organization, team, and you know, that's a challenge with a Shrine team, because you have all these kids that are individual stars, but the one common thread is their work ethic and their team spirit, I think, by and large, and just makes it a challenge, but it's a lot of fun to see what they can do athletically on the field.
Rob?
I think it's exciting for me this year being an 8-man football coach. So I was a 11-man football coach for the first 27 years of my career. And the last 3, we switched over to 8-man. So just talking to my staff, Coach Pizzetti from Centennial, and Coach McHaleson, Underwood, Coach Wharton from he was at Simpson, Southeast Warren. Just it's going to be exciting for me to get back into the 11-man game. And we have 8-man players on our team every year. Now it provides a different perspective for me to see some of those 8-man kids jump into the 11-man game. But I agree with Paul. I think what's amazing back in 03 with me is you have 46 kids who were the man on their football team, was the guy. You know, you go to a football game, you got to find your roles. And those kids have such high character, integrity. They understand the game. And so many of them taking steps back and saying, just let me fill in where I need to fill in. That's kind of the fun part of an all-star game. Everybody wants to score. Everybody wants a ball, but they working together, like Coach James said, I remember that was pretty special. Just unbelievably all-state elite kids saying, hey, I'll take a back seat a little bit in this game.
Coaches, has the involvement of the game of football in the last couple of decades really enhanced the tradition of the Shrine Bowl game and its cause?
Well, you know, as far as how the game is played, you know, the X's and O's, you know, I don't think it's really affected, if that's what you're asking, affected much. It's still the guys getting together, and, you know, they raise money to try to make contributions to the Shrine Hospital, and the big thing, and a former assistant of mine who is now the head coach at Cedar Rapids, Washington, where I was for a long time, Maurice Blue, he's got some friends from his Shrine days, you know, that are lifelong friends that you're together a week and a half or whatever, but you get to know guys real well, and you're in that same boat of being an all-star on this team, you know, and I don't think that those kind of things change. It's, you know, it's just the camaraderie and trying to help the young kids out that are in the hospitals.
Super. Rob?
Yeah, I guess my mind went to just the game itself evolving, and maybe, you know, football is a physical football. It's a physical game. I mean, it's not where we talk, you can just go out and play 9-inning baseball game or roll the basketball out and kind of play. I mean, it's a physical game. So we have things in place in our game. I know Coach James and I both talked about how minimal the contact would be during the week. But you still, football's tough that you still have to implement an offense and a defense in 7 days, 11 practices. It just looks different. And you still got to line up on that Saturday afternoon and be physical in football, or you're going to get your rear kicked. So, but a lot of those kids, it's either their last game or they're getting ready to go play at their next level. So all of them are pretty hungry. When I watch those games every year, there's a hard competitive edge. I mean, we're all learning and growing through the week, but when the ball's kicked off, we're there to win a football game and be competitive. So, yeah, but I do think the game evolving, you see more spread offense, you see more kids in space. Not to say it's not a physical game, it is, but it does lend itself a little bit better during that week to get things put in.
Well, Rob and Paul, appreciate it. And certainly look forward to both your seasons this fall, hopefully, and certainly the game next year. So appreciate your time. Have a great rest of the summer.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you for having us.
You bet. And coming up next, we will go back to 2019 and show you in its entirety the Iowa Shrine Bowl. And mark your calendar, July 24th, 2021, 4 o'clock inside the Unidome for the next Shrine Bowl. Thanks so much for watching, and enjoy the Shrine Bowl.